Hello, welcome back to another episode of Mac and D. I am joined, as always, by James Dobbs Guardian Cap. How you doing, James?
I am very large and very in charge if I'm the Dobbs Guardian cap.
Dude, that thing's pretty sweet. Did you see any pictures of it?
Yeah, honestly, my favorite is the memes that are relating it to like the mega hats that people have been wearing as kind of like pop culture. Those make me chuckle.
Remember when Brian Robinson Jr. was the face of that, and then they traded his ass to be a backup in San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
Shameful. It reminds me of like Megamind, you know, that old movie,
Yeah,
the
no, I
big
know
old
you're
blue
talking about.
guy. Yeah,
The
yeah,
real question is why is every defensive lineman not required to wear it? Just give yourself that little extra thickness, to maybe deflect more balls.
yeah, I feel like they probably are like, ooh, it gives too much cushion to my opponent, you know, whenever I ram my skull into his skull, I need him to feel me more, you know, or something
Yeah,
like
say
that.
that. Say that more seductively.
Oh, I can, man. Don't you worry. By having the mic in
Add the word
hand,
ram more frequently into this podcast.
there's a lot of words that I think could fit into that category. But yep, we didn't get on our regular recording schedule this week. We've just been bogged down with work lately. I'm thinking we do a little scars and bars, and then we can talk through some of the games this week, and then maybe some midseason awards as well. You know, it's a 17 game season now. We're about 8 games in, depending on which team you're looking at. I know that's also still not half, but that's
My
close
team
enough.
has played 8 games. Your team has had that candy ass schedule.
Dude, facts. Yeah, that early September bye, gotta love that. Make sure that you play 10 straight games afterwards or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you can't do midseason awards at the perfect half anymore because the 16 game season was just too beautiful. 8 and 8. Now it's, 8.5. Freaking bullshit. So let's do a little scars and bars, starting with a couple of the worst looking scars we've seen in a while. I feel like, not to try and, have injuries go against each other, but Cam Scadaboo, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
his ankle,
Dude,
man, it was just hanging there.
legitimately, do you think he'll play again?
I,
I'm not trying to be over the top. Like that was like as bad, if not worse, than Alex Smith's compound fracture. Alex Smith got to stand like a statue in the pocket. Cam does not get to do that.
yeah, and you sent me the list of the injuries that they kind of discovered, I guess, after the fact. Obviously
Yeah, they opened them up and were like, "Oh Jesus, this is worse."
they got his like ankle set right immediately. It's like, when you pop your shoulder back in the socket, that's not too graphic, right? But then immediately after, they take him to the hospital and they're like doing the surgery and anything. And apparently he had like all these other just things broken and limp and dislocated and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. It sounded like basically it was just like his Achilles just barely holding on and everything
Yeah,
else is
my
just.
my understanding was basically skin and his Achilles tendon were the only thing keeping his leg from falling off of his body.
Yeah, it felt like, when a chicken wing just kind of gets ripped off of there, and then it's
I
like, whoa.
mean, that is a very accurate description.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I mean, I think he plays again because he's just, a crazy person that apparently after the injury, he was like looking to his offensive line. He was like, "Hey, help me up, bro. Like, help me up. I can walk it off." And the offensive lineman was like, no, just staring down at
Mm.
the ankle that's twisted the wrong direction, being like, "Dude, no, you need to stay down." And so I think Cam is just such a freak and such a idiot that he'll definitely come back or at least attempt to come back. It's just sad because we all kind of made the joke like, hey, he's going to speed run an entire career in just 3 years, and it was like actually it was more like 6 weeks, which is just sucks. He's been one
But
of
it
the most fun
wasn't the
players of the
head
season.
injury. And that's what we all thought it would be. We thought he would just slowly turn his brain to mush, not his poor little ankle.
Yeah, no, truly. So it's crazy. We were looking at the same Reddit thread, and people were talking about it, and it's like it's crazy how one injury can happen on a play and it's a career altering injury. It's like 1 second you're fine and you're one of the most fun players. He scored a touchdown this past week once again. And then the very next second it's like, oh, hey, are we having these conversations of like, hey, is he actually even going to reach vested pension level of NFL career? It's crazy. It
Not
goes
even
very
close,
fast.
yeah.
The other major injury that was also just like, ugh, was the Carson Wentz injury. And this one's more ugh for other reasons. Carson Wentz, of course, the backup quarterback for the Vikings, he's playing in the stead of the other injured JJ McCarthy. And Carson Wentz is going through the game. He hurts his shoulder, he hurts his arm, and he's like gutting it out, and he's like wincing every 10 seconds. next thing you know, you or after the game, because it's a Thursday night game, you have the national media attacking him, being like, "Oh my gosh, like to be a leader means to suck some of those things up. You know, you gotta be willing to just put on a brave face for the rest of your teammates." And then you come to find out he has like a dislocated shoulder, or like broken scapula, like all these other things. And like, yeah, he never, no reason should he have gone back into that game. And he was truly doing it because they have no other quarterback on the roster. A lot of egg on the face of the national media this week.
Carson Wentz also might never play football again. I mean, when your throwing shoulder's torn the way his has been, and he really hasn't been the same since the first injury back in God, what 2018 at this point? Is that when it was? I
It
mean,
was.
it, not looking great. I mean, he's had a long backup career, nothing to scoff at, but it's kind of done for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's like, first off, yeah, tough for him. Absolutely. Hope he is able to make some level of a comeback despite, he's obviously made some good money on his career, but yeah, it definitely sucks. And then,
He
so,
had one contract, right? He had his like
yeah,
basically MVP year, got the bag, and then fell off a bit.
a lot of NFL career, I feel like when it comes to making money is just timing, right? It's like, hey, can you be good in your fourth year right before you're about ready to be extension eligible? Get your extension, you never have to be good again. And that's kind of the trajectory that his career had followed up until this point. And then JJ McCarthy, of course, he is going to need to step in. We were kind of joking last week. It's like that 2 to 4 week injury is turning very quickly into a 4 to 8 week injury. What's going on here? And so he is definitely going to make a comeback because there's like nobody else on this depth chart. The only other quarterback on the roster right now is Max Brosmer, who apparently, allegedly, played for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I watched like every Big Ten football game. I have zero recollection of that man on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Apparently, he was like he
Is
went
this
to
the
Rhode
new age Tim
Island or
Boyle?
something prior. I don't know, man.
Is this like the new age Tim Boyle? Like, didn't ever really play in college? Is just going to be on a pro team because he passes the vibe check with Ken O'Connell,
Seemingly, I'm not
Kevin
con-
O'Connell, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he like New Hampshire is where he played prior to Minnesota when he transferred there, and he apparently played a whole season last year. Could have fooled me. So yeah, JJ McCarthy's going to need to step up big time for the Vikings to stay in it. And I was talking with our friend Shannon today. Like I hate to say it, but with how competitive the NFC North is, this upcoming week Vikings versus Lions is kind of a do or die game for the Vikings. Like if they want to stay in this race, stay in the playoff race, they kind of need to start winning games quick.
Bro, they about to die. A show.
I, obviously I'll be rooting for it. I'll be rooting for their downfall. Minnesota teams have been hurting me a little bit too much between college football and the NFL. But yeah, I mean they need him to step up big time. And obviously the Aaron Jones being back is a big addition, but like this will get ugly pretty quickly. Other injuries that happened this week, we had Luther Burden get banged up. It sounds like it's nothing too major. And then Quinshon Judkins also got hurt.
He did, yeah.
Luckily, he got the most opportune bye week of all time. The Browns are on bye this
Mhm.
week.
And it wasn't like at least I hope because I mean obviously I watched this whole game. It wasn't some like crazy he gets carted off. I think it's just kind of he limped over to the sideline and was like, wait a minute, this isn't quite right. And they're like, hey, we're getting dog walks. Like you're not going back in.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, realistically, he has had every opportunity in this backfield right now. The Dylan Sampson fall off has been huge. And
Dude,
they've been
Dylan Sampson is coming back. The
maybe,
second Judkins was gone, old Dylan boy had like 5 catches.
yeah. And Jerome Ford, they've been talking about trade rumors potentially with him. It really feels like Stefanski kind of just wants to live and die with his guys. They were talking about him just like running it out with Dylan Gabriel for the rest of the season, but also he kind of looks unplayable right now. So that Browns team going to get real bad before things get better. Hopefully they can figure some things out over the bye week.
I will say,
Judkins in.
fan of the show, Browns fan, Pete Fallhaber, has kind of made the joke. He's like, I mean, Stefanski can, play Gabriel all the way to the unemployment line if he wants. That's his call.
Yeah. And Shadur Sanders was a healthy inactive this past week, despite there's only 2 or 3 quarterbacks left on the roster, even though they started with like 17 of them to begin the season. They've just been trading them away, cutting them. Kenny Pickett's gone, Joe Flacco's gone, all that. Bailey Zappi was actually the backup this past weekend. They're probably going to need to
Do
turn
they
to
have one
Shadur's.
other quarterback that could play? Maybe someone that's put up all pro type seasons.
He's too busy dancing, doing TikTok dances. He
Okay.
keeps re-injuring something,
Ah,
he who
that's
shall
what
not
it
be
is.
named. We had a lot of weird injuries, and I think probably the weirdest one that happened this past weekend was with PS2, Pat Surtain II on the Denver Broncos. Cornerback, but probably the most impactful quarterback in all of the NFL right now. He went down with like a head injury early in
Second
their.
most.
What's that?
Second most.
Oh,
Homer take. I'm going to say Gonzo.
whew.
It's clearly Pat, but I'm going to say Gonzo.
I mean, if we're going by Madden ratings, let's be real. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the Broncos obviously had a big win over the Cowboys this past weekend. Ultimately, didn't really need Pat Surtain, but he went down with like a head injury, left the game, came back in for like 2 plays, hit his knee kind of hard on the turf, and now he's supposed to be out for like a month and a half. So I said it like I kind of say it tongue in cheek, but also like I kind of get it. It felt like a little bit like, oh hey, I just got paid, so now every bumper bruise I get, like I'm just gonna come off the field. But they definitely need him right now. That Broncos defense looked stingy this past weekend, but hasn't looked all that awesome all season long.
Yeah.
And then other items, we got Michael Carter just straight up getting cut.
I
That
mean,
was
that
weird.
team, they needed running back help. So the obvious situation is addition by subtraction, cutting who everyone thought Michael Carter and not DeMarcado.
Yeah, DeMarcado in the ultimate doghouse of all doghouses, not getting cut from that Arizona backfield. Bam Knight gets elevated, I guess, to emergency starting running back. We still have Trey Benson hurt. James Conner is obviously out for the season. It's felt like Michael Carter felt like the guy who would be the steady hand. We've seen
And
him
he was
on,
playing fine. He
yeah,
was not doing anything ridiculous. I mean, what do you expect? He's your fifth string running back, but he was getting you 3.5, 4 yards a carry, just getting his 15 to 20 touches and calling it a day.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he's always done, whether that was with the Jets or whether that was with North Carolina. Michael Carter's a steady guy. He forces some missed tackles. That's all you can really ask for from an emergency starter. And they're just like, nah, we're done. Cut
Did he
bait.
fornicate with Gannon's wife? Is that what got him kicked off the team?
It's possible. I mean, just look at Gannon. He seems like a guy who that could happen to. And then another,
Jeez, jeez, get this man out of here.
And then also, this is random. I didn't even put this on our sheet, but Michael Carter, the other one, the defensive back, he wanted out from the Jets so badly. He waived a $5 million injury clause in his contract to be able to leave the Jets this past week. How about that?
Young men out there, if there's a clause for injury and you're an NFL player, I don't care what team you play for, do not waive it.
No, man. I'm immune to injuries. Cam Scatterwood didn't think that. Cam knew that any day that he could get hurt. I am immune to it. I
That's
won't get
right.
hurt. The leopard won't come eat my face. That's how this works.
Exactly.
So yeah, weird week for a tough week for Michael Carter's losing money, losing roster spots. And then also, this was just kind of depressing to me, just because this was an era. This was our comfort Patriots. We had Keon White and Kyle Duggar both get traded away from the Patriots this past weekend. Keon to the Niners, and then Duggar was that to the Steelers?
Steelers. Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with that?
I mean, these were just two guys that were old guard dudes that weren't fitting into the new regime. Kyle Duggar's kind of a fast linebacker but slow safety. Like he's just a classic Bill Belichick hybrid guy that didn't fit what Vrabel's doing. Kind of same with Jabril Peppers, right? Like it just wasn't quite what Vrabel wanted to do. I think he'll work really well in the Steelers scheme. They just need DB help regardless, and I think he just kind of fits that. I think between him and Jabril, they're both going to just lay some wood on some dudes and make Steelers fans happy. So I think good landing spot for him. Keon White, I think he was really at the end of the day was more so or not Jarvis. Yeah, Jarvis Landry, right? Landry Insurance, right? And Landry's been playing out of his mind. His looks just like the guy that was out in Tennessee, and he's kind of the odd man out, maybe the fourth man in the pass rush rotation, to where just kind of hey, no harm, no foul. Niners need players like go, just go reset out there. It's worked for Mac. It's worked for plenty of people before. Thanks, but we got to move on.
Yeah, no, it really feels like we're starting to kind of hit the end of the tweener era in the NFL right now, and those were kind of part of the old guard, the old Patriots to a degree that were, positionless, able to kind of
Mhm.
oscillate between a couple of spots, but ultimately are either undersized or undersped at given positions depending on where
Yeah.
they were asked to be played. And yeah, like you said, like
Well,
Harold Landry is just
and
a
I mean,
better
I don't know how
player.
much Patriots football you've watched, right? So Keon was definitely the kind of freak athlete type D end or D lineman, but we're playing big uglies on our line. We are not playing around with the oh, this guy's kind of here, kind of hybrid, can stand up, etc. We're like, no, dude, you're putting your fingers into the ground and you are eating space, and he does not fit that build.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of equated it to when James Houston left the Lions just a couple of years ago. He was a bit of a surprise. I can't remember if he got cut or traded for like a seventh rounder. It was just like out of the blue, came out of nowhere. He was like a double digit sack guy for the Lions, and he was like the only guy getting after the quarterback prior to Aiden Hutchinson joining the team. And I remember being like, what the hell? Like, why are we getting rid of our good players? And he was on a cheap deal, all that kind of good stuff. And sometimes that's just what good teams need to do. You evolve past some of your past players that were eating up a lot of the statistics, but maybe were a little bit more garbage time than you actually realized. And I didn't think that they were those type of guys. I really feel like they're going to thrive probably in their next spots as well. But obviously, Vrabel knows what's going on a little bit better than we do. So in Vrabel, we
Yeah,
trust.
yeah, I'll trust Vrabel on that one.
Yeah.
I think to your point, Patriots played so much bad football the last 4 years. That's like, you know what, things are going well. Like maybe they just weren't good players.
Yeah, it's possible. But yeah, I definitely hate it. It was definitely very fun looking back at their draft stories. You and I, when Keon White got the green room invite from Georgia Tech, we were like, who? Apparently, Bill Belichick, there's a story that came out this week. Bill Belichick wanted to draft him in the first round, not just the second round. He wanted to draft him in the first
Like
round. He
he
had to
was the
get talked
reason
out of
that
it.
draft stock went.
Exactly, exactly. That's why it came out of nowhere. And so, yeah, he was like trying to draft him like 2 rounds earlier than most people were projecting him. And then the other great one is Kyle Duggar. Of course, he got drafted in COVID, and that was whenever Bill Belichick was drafting at home. And then we got the infamous or
Nike
famous,
photo.
depending on what we want, the dog picture where yeah, the dog
Yeah.
is doing the drafting behind the laptop during COVID. Great times. Definitely going to miss them as Patriots. They were very fun to follow. Glad that we had a little bit of
Yeah, the
microscope on their
tough part
careers.
is those hybrid guys make some of the craziest highlight plays because they play such weird football. I think the consistency isn't there, and that's the issue, right? Like Keon can go from blowing up an amazing kind of like a play, getting a crazy sack, following up by like getting absolutely bodied by like a pulling center and letting a 25-yard run go through. And when there's no in between or no consistency, you just can't trust. Like they just don't fit the rotation at that point.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. All right, so let's get into our recap slash preview slash. We'll save awards for the very end. James, what's a game that you want to highlight from this past weekend?
Hmm. I
We don't have
think I
to hit all of
want
them.
to do the circle of suck, if you will, although there's good teams in it. But it's crazy to me the NFC South. Somehow every year you're just kind of scratching your head where the Falcons showed up in prime time and just took it to the Bills when the Bills should have been very motivated after losing to the Patriots. That same Falcons team got blown out 30 to nothing by the Panthers. The Panthers then proceed to get blown out by the Bills at home 40 to 9, and the 9 was a garbage time touchdown. Like, I don't understand this Falcons or Panthers team. I honestly think I have more trust in the Panthers than the Falcons. Like, outside of Bijan and Drake London, do you believe in any player on that entire Falcons team?
No, I mean the next guy that I trust is Michael Penix, and he seemingly can't stay healthy. I mean, we all know why. I mean, man was basically in a wheelchair for half of his college career. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to look back on that Falcons over Bills primetime game. It's going to be one of those where it's like, what was this result? Like, how the hell did this ever happen? It's like whenever the Raiders randomly beat the Chiefs sometimes in the early season. It's like what, that result, play that game 20 more times. Their Chiefs are going to win
Mm-hmm.
19 out of 20 of those. So definitely a strange one. And then, of course, the Dolphins beat the Falcons this past week in convincing fashion. Kirk Cousins had the opportunity to step up. He keeps talking about how he wants to be a starter in this league and how he's still at that level. And it's like,
Dude,
dude, you had a prime
dude,
opportunity in Atlanta and you fucked
what
it
a
up.
layup of an opportunity to just say, hey, if you're still a quarterback and can prove it, what better defense? Like you couldn't hand pick a defense to face that's better than that. Like, why does Drake London not? Or he? Sorry, Drake London was hurt right before the game, right? So that might have had some to do with it. But like, Kyle Pitts should have had 20 targets, and Bijan should have had 40 touches, and they should have won about 40-10. Like, whatever happened there is wild.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of the fall off of Darnell Mooney, who's missed some time. Of course, Drake London missed this past week. It's funny though. You mentioned Kyle Pitts. I was looking at his stats this past week. 9 receptions, 59 yards, caught all 9 of his targets. He's tight end. I think I saw it tight end like 7 on the season so far this year. Like he is not being a bad player so far this year, and tight ends are having a bit of a renaissance right now. And him being a top 10 tight end, that is huge. Like that compared to previous years where it's like, hey, he's get drafted in the 5th round and finishing as a guy who probably should have been drafted in the 15th round. This is a nice career change for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great one to highlight. I'm glad you said, hey, let's talk a little Falcons, let's talk a little Dolphins. I really want to talk about this Ravens Bears game because this really feels like two different teams that are going in two very different directions. Caleb Williams continues to be one of the most frustrating players of the 2025 season where he'll do it's like just like what he's done in the past where it's like he'll throw 2 or 3 really awesome throws that are really being like, oh my gosh, I really am starting to believe in him. And then it's like, oh hey, this guy's having the ultimate sophomore slump, except he was already pretty bad as a rookie. So the Bears team is falling off. Meanwhile, Ravens absolutely saved their season this past week. It was like not only a must win, but it was like if you lose, it would take an absolute historic comeback. You would have had to go like 9-2 over your last 11 games. And like that's just not happening. There's just no shot that you're just going to win every single week. And now they turn it around. They turn the reins back over to Tyler Snoop Huntley. Fits their offense so much better than Cooper Rush ever did. I get what they were trying to do with Cooper Rush, where he's like, maybe if we just have a steady hand with really good weapons around him, your Zay Flowers, your Mark Andrews, your Derrick Henry, maybe he can just be the point guard, get the ball to other players in the offense. But I think what Tyler Huntley showed is you need a guy who's able to improv a little bit better, who's able to, have those off schedule throws, be off platform. And more importantly, someone's able to run the ball. That's how those receivers are able to get open is whenever things are breaking down. And Tyler Huntley was play after play after play beating up this pretty bad Bears defense. And he finished the game with like 50 plus rushing yards. Like he truly did the best Lamar Jackson impression that you could do. And he's done it in the past. So it's like no surprise. And now the Ravens are finally back in the win column.
That's what the Cooper Rush experiment was strange because I feel like any trained eye would have been like, yeah, he was good in Dallas because he's more like Dak Prescott. He can get the ball out. He can let CD take a slant to the house. He can, flip it to whoever it needs to go to. The Ravens offense isn't really built that way. I mean, outside of some tunnel screens to Zay, like you got to move the pocket a bit and let the play break down and then flip the ball to Zay who knows how to scramble. Like Snoop walked in there and it, looked to your point like the poor man's Lamar because that's how he plays.
Yeah.
Right? It never made sense that they got off of him. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback for him.
Pro Bowler. Yeah, no, and it just makes sense. And I get what the Ravens are doing. They were like, we played Tyler Huntley in an emergency capacity when Lamar was getting hurt a lot, and it was back when we had no weapons. And now we have good weapons around him. Let the weapons cook. But no, exactly like you're saying, it's the shifting of the pocket. It's the personnel that you're able to play around with them. And the offensive line's getting beat up. Ronnie Stanley got hurt again this past week.
Their entire short yard packages are based on an option out of your quarterback to run. And Cooper Rush ain't doing that, right? Like they had to like eliminate a third of their playbook because that's where they're so deadly is they get to short yardage situations and it's just automatic.
Exactly. So the Ravens in their upcoming games have a Swiss cheese schedule. Plenty of people.
Yeah, they have that beautiful AFC East schedule coming up.
Yeah, they got AFC, and honestly, AFC North doesn't look too daunting anymore either. I mean, if you're able to play the Bengals prior to Joe Burrow coming back, which a lot of teams are because he's going to be out a while, they're not a very daunting team. They lost to the Jets this past week. That's really hard to do. The Steelers, of course, lose on Sunday night, and then yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, you're right back into the division very easily. We don't even need to talk about the Browns. So it was funny going into this week on FanDuel, you could literally get the exact same odds for the Steelers to win the division, who at that point were convincingly 3, 4 games ahead of the second place team, as you could on the Ravens, who were at 1 win going into this week. So it's funny how the Red Sea is kind of parting a little bit for them to be able to have a pretty fun comeback season. I think it's more likely than not, that this Ravens season finishes like 7-10. There's a few more disappointing games that happen. They play tonight. We're recording here on a Thursday
Lamar's
night.
back though. Lamar gets to tune up against those Dolphins. I think he'll be okay.
I have a pretty distinct COVID memory because again, there's nothing going on of the Ravens and Dolphins playing. I want to say it was in 2021, and same situation. The Ravens, need a win. They're heavy favorites, highly motivated, much better team all the way around. And the Dolphins they come out and they just play like the 85 Bears on defense and literally like the Peyton Manning Broncos on offense. And it's like, whoa, where did this come from? And just blitzed them. So I think it's a bit of a trap game. I actually chose the Dolphins this week in our in our parlay pool to cover.
Oh, wow.
I'm a
Can't wait for
believer,
yours to
man.
be busted immediately.
I'm okay with it. I needed a
What,
little
what was the
action
what was the spread? How
Thursday.
many points did you get?
It was something stupid. It was like 10 or something like that. So I was like, I don't feel that bad about them only losing by like a touchdown or 3 points or something like that. So we shall see.
Yeah.
What's another game you want to highlight or just moment?
Um, yeah, I mean, the, when you're looking at like the Ravens Bears game, to your point, I think you glossed over the worst goal line stand I've ever seen in my life. The Bears
You're
need a touchdown, need to get the ball back,
you're still
and
mad
somehow
about that?
waste like 45 seconds and don't get a touchdown. Like Caleb does an impromptu QB sneak that doesn't get in. They throw a slant at the goal line where the guy fields it from his knee instead of just like dropping the ball, which would have been the preferred outcome. I mean, there were so many just brutal plays there that I think that needs to be highlighted. Um, JT is doing his best LT impression. That dude's going to end the season with what feels like 30 touchdowns. I mean, every other week he's getting a hat trick. So tape your cap to JT and JT owners this season. Lucky you. And
Yeah.
then I think the biggest one I had was Christian Watson apparently, tears his ACL and decides I'm going to sit in a wheelchair and just hit the jugs machine because he was making contested catches, which he never did in his career. His whole thing was he gets wide open and drops the ball, and then he's doing jump balls against the Steelers this week. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean Christian Watson, he turned back the clock. It looked like that Thanksgiving game from 2 years ago they had against the Lions. Dude was just cooking people. It was crazy. Definitely one of the ads for this past week. I saw him actually. I was looking through some waiver wires again today in a lot of my leagues. He's still available. If you have a roster spot, I definitely think that he's worth a flyer because like Jordan Love showed once again, that he loves Christian Watson. He will make him a wide receiver one if he is healthy. And yeah, you mentioned JT. I mean, what's there more to say? I mean, I've been one of the ultimate glazers of JT from day one, but I mean, I still get it. Like he wasn't a really obvious pick still in round two. Chase Brown had a higher ADP than him. Bucky Irving was almost closer to being a higher ADP than him. And I get it. It's like if Anthony Richardson was going to be the quarterback of that offense and the offense was going to be similar to how it ran last year, JT's facing 9, 10 man boxes basically. And it's like you can't do anything with that. But the offensive line decided to completely turn it around, is having a generational run at on the offensive line and protecting Daniel Jones beautifully and then allowing JT to be able to run off of that play action. There's some screenshots that of the offensive line parting and making some holes. That honestly, I couldn't believe it looked like there was something wrong with it, and it was like it wasn't even like there's a little glimmer here. ESPN loves to do that where they'll show like if he turned his head 90 degrees to the right immediately, he would have saw this hole. No, it was like it was a hole you and I could run through. Like you and I could get a 10-yard gain because they are just getting so much push.
Right.
Daniel Jones is fourth in the league in passing yards right now. JT is number one by a country mile in rushing yards.
It's like those old pictures of Trent Richardson of like the hole versus what Trent Richardson went to. And said JT is like, oh yeah, I'll go there.
Exactly. It's so crazy, and I love it for him. You know, they made some good strategic decisions in free agency to pick up a couple of guys, especially at tackle. Quentin Nelson is fully back to form after kind of looking washed last year, so I'm loving it. And shout out my buddy Joe, who's a big Colts fan. These are our Colts. You know, at the end of the day, we are all Indiana Jones. So I'm really loving
Mhm.
it so far this season. And Alec Pierce, man, I mean, he just keeps every single week. There's a new downfield highlight play that he's getting. Michael Pittman Jr. is getting one-handed catches. They seem like they're having the most fun in all of the NFL, and I mean, it's showing in the standings. They're 7-1 in first place in all the AFC. Um, JT opens up a great question though. It's like, is JT your MVP?
I mean, at this point, you almost have to say yes. He won't get it because he's not a quarterback, but and against giant, if he keeps this pace, I don't know how you say it's anyone else.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. And it's like people kind of pointed immediately to, hey, Saquon had a generational season last year. He didn't win it. And I'm like, yeah, but also Saquon wasn't getting touchdowns like this. JT already has double digit touchdowns. We are only halfway through the season. Saquon finished the entire season last year with only 15 touchdowns. I want to say that JT's at like 16 or 17 already, and we're only halfway through the year. So it's like the touchdowns, what he means to this team. Obviously, that Eagles team would have still hummed to a degree without Saquon. I think that there is a very good argument if you are truly taking the valuable portion of the award that you can easily throw some votes towards JT. If you're not giving it to JT, who has your vote right now?
I feel like you're setting me up to say Drake May. I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna let Drake play. I think Drake is legitimately in the conversation, but probably still lean Baker. Other than he just had his stinker of a week, and Drake looked fantastic this past week. But it's like, yeah, it was the Browns.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Devil's advocate, even though I
Hmm.
am trying to like get you to not jinx him, obviously still too. Patriots are 6-2. That's second place in all of the AFC right now, tied with the Broncos technically, ahead of the Bills, which is like feels like a miracle. They have the third best point differential in all of the AFC, and I think you can very easily point a lot of that towards just how well the offense has performed. The touchdown to interception ratio is crazy, especially comparing it to some of his peers. I I think it's a fair argument to say he's been the best quarterback in all of the NFL, and even like other guys who are staying pretty on schedule, like Mahomes. Like Mahomes was awesome this past Sunday night or Monday night, excuse me, against the Commanders, but he still had two interception games. So it's like
Hmm.
I kind of like just knocking out some of the other candidates that are there, JT, running back, etc. Like I think there's a very good shot that he ends up winning the award.
Yeah, I mean, Hurts has had a sneaky good season too. He's not getting a lot of credit. JT has 14 touchdowns already, rushing plus receiving, which is
Thank you,
bananas.
thank you. Yeah, and like at the end of the day, I think if you point to the receiver help that Drake May has versus some of these other quarterbacks, you know, of course, Patrick Mahomes just got Rashee Rice back. Justin Herbert's got a plethora of different guys that are able to do a variety of things. It's like I think there's no one that's doing more with less. And then
I,
you add in the rushing totals too. And it's like
mhm.
he is crushing it when it comes to quarterbacks on rushing guards.
Yeah,
So
I would say the Patriots receivers are underrated. They're definitely playing very well. Adding Steph Diggs has helped quite a bit, but Drake's definitely doing more with less when you compare Baker throwing to, four different all pro players, etc. Right?
yeah,
So,
the running back, or excuse me, the quarterback rushing standings right now is Justin Fields. Not a surprise. You know, he takes off a bazillion times per game. Two is Patrick Mahomes, which is kind of surprising at 280 yards. Josh Allen at 261, and then Drake May's right there with 250, fourth
yeah.
place. It's
That
not
was
bad.
after week one. He did not want to rush the ball, and everyone was just like, "No, dude, take off."
Yeah. I just pulled up last our excuse me, our preseason guesses that we had at MVP. You had Justin Herbert, which he leads all the NFL right now in passing yards, and then I had Lamar Jackson. So you're definitely looking a little bit
Well,
better than
Lamar's
that.
not getting it this year.
Yeah, missed too many
So
games.
I have a
So
better chance than you, but I don't know. I mean, Herbert has had some. The Chargers just they blow up spectacularly in prime time, and that does not help on the MVP voting.
Yeah. So the DraftKings right now, their odds go Mahomes at plus 125, Josh Allen at plus 350, and then Drake May at plus 500. I think that's pretty
Do
juicy.
you think Mahomes deserves number one odds?
Probably not.
Do you think it's just truly the betting market of people going, I'm dumping it into Mahomes. He's winning now.
I think it's eye test. One of my notes from this past week was just how much better that the Chiefs look in general. Like things don't look painful anymore, which it's been like
Mhm.
a good year and a half for that to not be the case, right? And obviously, there's a lot of things that go into that injury luck, offensive line play. But I also just think it's, Mahomes feeling comfortable with the positions that people are at. It really feels like they kind of got their love of football back too, which like things were just not looking good there for a while. I don't think it's necessarily deserved, but I think it's projection for how the rest of the season's going to go. And yeah, so I think that's kind of what's ultimately playing into it. But no one's an odds-on favorite by any means. He's only at plus
Mhm.
125.
Yeah.
Is Opoi the most boring award now with JT? I mean, Offensive Player of the Year has to be Jonathan Taylor, right?
I mean, unless out of nowhere Jamar rips off like four straight 300-yard games.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm
I
at.
mean,
It's
like
like,
CMC, I guess, is on the doorstep because of his receiving upside. Like
yeah,
if you just go total scrimmage yards, but all things are looking right in Indy, and I think there's some cracks in the armor in San Francisco.
yeah. And McCaffrey's also kicking ass when it comes to yards after the catch. Goes McCaffrey, Bijan, Jamar Chase, Tucker Craft, Devon A Chain. You can tell the whole story of the entire NFL season
There
just
you
by
go.
talking
Tucker
through those
Craft
five
for
dudes.
OPOY.
He's up there, man. I mean, if you want to put in some blocking and also just like badassery factor, like that dude is so cool. I hate the Packers, obviously, but he is such a fun player. Deploy, who's your odds on favorite right now?
I mean, wasn't until his 5 sack game, but like, wouldn't you kind of lean towards Miles Garrett? He's at like 10 sacks on the season thanks to the Patriots.
Yeah, you had Nick Bosa, who obviously is hurt and
Yeah.
not going to win it. I had Aiden Hutchinson going into the year, but I mean, yeah, I mean all the statistics are going in his favor, and then the underlying statistics too. I saw a stat that on pure pass sets this year, Miles Garrett has a 40% win rate. He is just throwing
That's not
offensive line
fair.
like ragdolls, dude.
Dude, he was getting chipped every single play and then blocked by Will Campbell, and Will Campbell looked like a junior high kid. I
It's
felt for him. That was a tough one because all I could see was in repeat in my head. If you give up a sack a game, you're working for Amazon. I'm like, buddy, you just gave up five.
exactly. I definitely pushing up that average a little bit. And yeah, it's sad seeing him on the sideline, Miles Garrett on the sideline, just being like, what more am I supposed to do?
My
Like, we
my
can't win
note
this
for
game by
that was
myself.
was Miles, you chose this.
Yeah.
Like you can't be mad that your team's bad when you said before the season, this team's bad, trade me. And they said, how about, $50 million? He's like, I'll give it a shot.
Offensive rookie of the year is Caleb Johnson, right? For the Pittsburgh
Has to be
Steelers. Has to
Johnson,
be. Has to
clearly.
be. He didn't even play this past game, James. One of
He's
the
such an
worst
disappointment.
fantasy picks I've ever had was ADP of 75 going into this year. Didn't even
I
play
mean,
a
him and
down.
Travion Henderson are fighting, but at least Trey does, get a couple touches a game.
Yeah. Do you have a fave for offense rookie of the year?
Um, well, Cam Ward's not doing his part to take it over, so
Judkins?
maybe it might be Judkins. I'm trying to think of any other rookies that have really had big impact. It's not. I mean, Ibuka probably, right?
Yeah, Ibuka, Jackson Dart, or Tyler Warren. That's a fun one too.
Yeah, I get Tyler Warren. I honestly, if you want to give a tight end love, Tyler Warren for rookie of the year would be a ton. That'd be cool.
Got to give him a shout. All right, we are at time. Went by quick.
Hmm.
So that is our show.
Absolutely.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody.